Definitely. So how do you like to structure a day? Because when you have all the commodities to look at and you're trying to find very good cases, do you have a clear structure, or do you feel like it's a bit serendipity, luck? You read something, you dive
No,
into it, or
no,
do you have
no.
like a structure from
No,
A?
no, no, no. Yeah, yeah. Don't. Look. Maybe that works too. This scuttlebutt thing that is talked about in books by Peter Lynch and so on. But look, I have a rather structured approach. So first of all, I think you need routine. Routine. Look, I used to play a lot of. I used to do all sorts of sports, and in some of them, I really wanted to be very good, right? And then I learned a lot about our brains and so on. And for instance, in golf, you don't get anywhere if you don't have routine in front of that shot. And that's a process that needs to be very clear in your brain in order to become a single handicap or scratch player. You never become that kind of player without a clear routine that you need. And I think in investing, it's the same. And there are many ways, I think, there to go to. My routine is, for instance, I have dogs and I go and walk with those dogs for an hour, that no one can take that away from me. Between 11 and 12 sounds incredible boring life. I love it, right? Because we Swiss have this privilege, this enormous privilege of, you live in Zurich, you go in the car, 2 minutes later, you are in the most beautiful forest, right? In London, it takes you, 3 hours to get there. And then you walk with your dogs, you come back, and that's my way of having my brain consolidated, my thoughts, my anxieties, my anything, right? My creativity comes out. So that's one. I think you need routine. I think you need to wake up at a certain point and go to sleep to a certain point in a routine-ish way in order to maximize your output. I think you need to come into this game with the right tool set. I mean, if you're slow if you don't know how to do certain things that you need to do, I mean, you cannot go to a ski race and you need to figure out how to put your skis on, right? It just doesn't work. So that thing you obviously need to bring to the game. But then I think what I try and do is to have the least amount of meetings, I literally try to avoid them at all. I don't like to go to conference. What I like to do is just to read and think and go about these things of these companies that we know well on a daily basis. And then if there is something that catches my eyes, then I like to call them the company and ask them about it. Give you an example. I don't like to be pitched by someone. Oh, have you heard of Serica Energy? Maybe that's a good thing and so on. And then they sell it to me and then I don't go about this freely anymore, right? So rather my approach then is, okay, I know Serica for a long time. We've been in there twice and we re-entered the position, this UK gas player, and then there is this angle about a development that they do that looks very interesting, and then I read and talk to some, we have a loose network of specialists, like I talk to a friend of mine, geologist, and say, what do you think? And we go about this data, and then I co-manage. And then usually I have someone with me on the call that knows a lot more about these things than I do. I'm not a geologist. And then we ask 2 or 3 or 4 questions in the most neutral possible way so that I get a feeling what it really can be. And then we take some assumptions on it, and that's how we go about it. If you talk too much to managers, the good ones, they really know how to sell their company, right? And then do you think in the States you find a guy that tells you his reservoir is very bad, by the way? Oh, please, Alexander, we'd like you to know this reservoir just makes it right, but nevertheless, it's going to be, the stock's going to go. No. So you have to have an ability to find these things out for yourself and to create a network. By the way, I don't think for that you need to have hundreds of employees. You need to have a network and access to people that like to help you. And then, or something, we pay also a lot of fees to external advice where we think, now this is important. We need to understand that. in detail and have an expert on this specific question, and then we feel comfortable.
But isn't it that like the funniest part of being an investor, because you have to have everything at play at the same time? You need to be stubborn on something, but also very flexible and adaptable. And there's a big herd mentality, and you don't know if the herd is right or is it wrong. So you have to sort of be extremely good at separating noise from signal, right? And maybe that's the hardest part. And maybe you can't get that level until you have had enough experiences, because it's easy to say that you're not going to be convinced by good management, but maybe you're not conscious about that for the first 10 years in your career. Maybe you are, because everybody can be sold to. It's easy to say that no one can sell me something, but we all get sold to all day, right? All day long.
And victims of it too. Now, no, you bring up very, very powerful points. So first of all, I think the experience curve is something you need. I think if you're, Buffett started himself when he was extremely young. He quotes something like 14 when he did his first investment. So, but Buffett is Buffett, right? He has an amazing brain and an amazing emotional game he brings to this. But I don't think many of us are like him. But I think what you are saying here is, I would like to take that to the emotional world of this job. And I think there you need to really you need to come to this game, whatever that age is, when you have a good understanding about yourself. Because I think that it's where when the emotions kick in, when things go up and you become too excited, or when things go down, you become too depressed and so on. That shows me you cannot handle the emotional side of the business. Or you probably haven't done your homework at all, or very little, right? And then the price influences you so much that you assume the price is always right, and therefore you are wrong, right? And then you shouldn't be in that business at all, right? If you don't make the price your opportunity, but your problem, you should not invest in publicly. So, but that could make you a super investor in the private sector, right? Where you don't have these constant quotes every single day. But the emotional side, I think you have to understand who you are, what makes you tick on the emotional side. Read these Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, these kind of things. Dale Carnegie, the psychological side of the business, and then find out whether you are that person. And I think some people are just born with that. They are made for that, and others are not.